So you're being misled about PCOS. Oh, I know, I'm a guy, what do I know? Well, I've been doing this for over 12 years now. I've read everything, I've done everything, I've experienced people with PCOS who've tried everything. I'm going to share exactly my thoughts and experiences and what you should be doing, especially if you're South Asian. Now I'm going to go into 3 things for you, but let's start with the industry itself, because the research shows that PCOS affects around, I think about 1 in 10 women in the UK. And that's over about 3 million people. And the number of women being diagnosed has nearly doubled in the last 20 years or so. When a problem gets that big, an industry grows around it. You need to understand this is happening just now with the weight loss jabs. And that's fine until the industry starts making money from keeping you confused. That's the point. Think about, the PCOS content, the gurus, the influencers that you see online, seed cycling, hormone balancing tests, cortisol reset programs, estrogen detox protocols, inositol stacks, liver flushes, you name it. None of that is the starting point. You need to know this. Most of it is noise. And it's what I call, the PCOS noise machine, for lack of a better term. It works by making the problem feel so complicated, so mysterious, so hormonal, that the only logical answer seems to be buying that next thing, because people are desperate, and I understand it. But here's the part that matters specifically for you. A study found that South Asian women, Pakistani, Indian, Bangladeshi, as you guys probably already know this, for those who don't, you have higher rates of polycystic ovaries than other ethnic groups. Over, I think, 52% of South Asian women in the UK in community research had PCOS, compared to just 22% compared to predominantly non-Asian populations. Now, I'll put all the stuff in the link below. Now, this means generic advice, it was never designed for you in mind. Even less useful for you than it was for everyone else. So what's actually going on? Because the real driver of PCOS isn't what most content is telling you, and once you see it, it really starts making more sense, and you'll be able to filter through all the noise as well. Polycystic ovary syndrome, which is a condition where the ovaries and the wider hormonal system start working against each other, is in the majority of cases driven by one thing: insulin resistance for the most part. The research shows that between 50 and 70% of women with PCOS have insulin resistance. Now, again, you might already know this. Not some of them, not just women who are overweight, but up to 70%, including lean women as well. So what actually is insulin resistance, right? For those who don't know, because you might have seen it online. So insulin is think of it like a delivery driver. So after you eat, insulin knocks on your cell's doors to drop off glucose, right? So that's the blood sugar, okay? So every source of carb you eat, even like the unhealthy and healthy ones, essentially gets broken down into sugars, right? When everything's working properly, the cells can open the doors and take the delivery. Done. When you have insulin resistance, the cells stop answering. So insulin keeps knocking on the door, your body panics, and then it sends more insulin thinking, right, we've got a blockage here, and more drivers banging on more doors, nobody answering. So there's too much insulin circulating in the bloodstream, if that kind of makes sense. Now, the ovaries, the organs in your pelvis that manage your entire reproductive cycle, respond by producing too much testosterone, and that's the male hormone. And when testosterone is elevated in women, that's what gives you kind of some of the facial hair, the acne, the irregular periods, and the weight that won't shift no matter what you do. Some of you may have already experienced this, and it's kind of like the insulin loop. So insulin resistance leads to high insulin. High insulin leads to high testosterone. High testosterone leads to your symptoms. Now you're probably thinking, okay, but what do I do? Because, I want to fix this, right? And is the fix not complicated? But it does require you to stop doing the complicated thing and start doing the boring stuff. And this is the stuff that doesn't sell. It's not sexy. If insulin resistance is the engine driving your PCOS, then the food you eat is the fuel that's going into the engine. 3 changes. That's it. First, protein. Yes, I bang on and on about this every single meal. A study found that high protein diets significantly reduce fasting insulin and insulin resistance in women with PCOS compared to standard diets. Now, I can't stress this enough, because I've dealt with women who have had PCOS, they've struggled, and the number one thing I look at is, what is your protein intake like? We work on it for a couple of weeks and symptoms start to improve. Most South Asian women are eating nowhere near enough protein. So we're talking, under 50 grams a day in many cases, when the optimal intake for someone with PCOS should be close to 100 grams or more. Let's think about it. Masala eggs in the morning, for example, chicken or dal with proper portions at lunch and Greek yogurt as a snack. This is your food. You just need more protein in it. You don't have to overthink it. Just look at the meats, etc. Google a protein list and just include more of it. Second, stop stacking refined carbs back to back. 3 rotiyan, white rice, and tea with 3 sugars is not balanced intake. It's an insulin spike served 3 times over, and that's what causes you to feel more hungry and overeat. Every time refined carbs hit your bloodstream without protein and fiber alongside it, insulin spikes massively. And for women with PCOS, that spike costs you more than it costs someone without it. So you don't need to remove the rice. You don't need to quit your rotiyan, okay? But just eating them in isolation with nothing else alongside them, that's the problem. So let's change the structure. I made a video about this actually. Third, add fiber. This is one that I have paid a lot more attention to now. For all you you podcasters and TikTokers. Dr. Karan Rajan, he's brilliant. He does a lot of stuff on fiber and the gut. Please check out his content. I absolutely love it. But let's think about it, you know, like spinach stirred into your dal before serving, brown rice at times, instead of doing white rice, having fruit with the skin on them and stop going for like watermelon and mangoes, you know, the desi style. Just have more fiber. You know, we've got a fiber cheat sheet, which I'll link below. You can check out yourself. It's very easy. And it blunts the insulin spike. And for South Asian women who often have low fiber intake due to refined carbs and overcooked vegetables, you know, because let's say aloo gobi is not going to give you a lot of fiber, it makes a real measurable difference when you just look at the foods that you're eating and say to myself, how can I have a bit more fiber? Let me try and hit 15 to 20 grams minimum per day to begin with. Now you're probably thinking, right, none of this sounds revolutionary. I already know this. I was taught this in school. Cool. Well, why don't you do it? Because it still works. And that's the point. The PCOS noise machine needs it to feel complicated, because simple doesn't sell. Now the last thing, the thing nobody is packaged up and selling you, but the research says it might be the most important thing of all, muscle. That's it. The stuff that's under your skin, the stuff that we men have a very hard time building and women think they're going to get big by just lifting a dumbbell, makes no sense. It is the stuff that, you know, yeah, it makes you feel good, you tones you up in the process as well, but guess what? It's the body's primary glucose disposal unit. Carbs and muscle are best friends as ever. The more of it you have, the better your intake of carbs is going to be. You'll be able to handle it a lot better. So the more muscle you build, the more efficiently your cells absorb glucose and the more sensitive they become to insulin, which is a good thing. A study found that resistance training improves insulin sensitivity, reduces fasting insulin as well, and lowers the, the free androgen index, which is, for those who don't know, it's a direct measure of active testosterone circulating in your body in women with PCOS. Now, a study in resistance training specifically for women with PCOS found improvements in fasting insulin, cholesterol levels, waist circumference, and body fat percentage in women who trained consistently. Now, again, I'll link this all below. Nobody's selling you a barbell. That's the thing. Because you can't put a barbell in a 12-week coaching program and charge like, a couple £100 for it. But the research is clear. Regular exercise, which sounds boring, you get told this from day one, is the primary intervention for PCOS. Not an add-on, not a bonus, the primary intervention. 3 sessions a week potentially, get some exercise in there, do some resistance training over, build a base basically. Every bit of muscle you add works for you 24 hours a day. It's not just during the workout. So please add more of it. So PCOS has become an industry, and that industry, the PCOS noise machine, profits from keeping you confused. It always will. The supplements, the protocols, the hormone balancing, retreats that you get, which I've seen a few of these, they're comical. None of that is the starting point. The starting point is the insulin loop. Insulin resistance drives high testosterone. High testosterone drives your symptoms. And the thing that directly targets insulin resistance are protein at every meal, fewer refined carb spikes, more fiber, lifting weights. And the thing is, this is free information. You can go on Google and you can find this. So it's not going to be, people can't justify charging a couple £100 for it. It's all free, but people are not doing it because people want to keep you confused, because popularity sells. And anytime you see on TikTok a PCOS wellness influencer, is going to draw your attention to it. It's just natural, right? So one thing this week, pick one meal, add a proper protein source to it as well. Get some fiber in there and don't go crazy on your carbs. Just be patient. Now, I know this is very boring stuff for you, but if you're skeptical, right, and you're thinking, oh, look at this clown, he's a guy, he doesn't know anything, click the link below. You will see the many transformations that we've achieved over the last couple of months. Particularly, we've had a spike in clients who've had PCOS recently, which is good for us because we get to help them, and you'll see their story. There's videos of them. There's no generic before and afters. Now, I made a video about energy crashes when trying to lose weight because this is a real thing. Now, I made it specifically for you because a lot of people, when they're trying to lose weight, they always ask about the best sources of food because they're tired and swept off their feet. So before you go watch that video and combine it with this video, it's going to help you massively.